So during the week, from the Office of the Minister for Education, Honorable Dr. Yao Educhum. So he had the pleasure of joining His Excellency Laji Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia to visit Opokuwari Senior High School and deliver the first batch of tablets under the One Student, One Tablet initiative, as well as commission the first smart school block. So this initiative is part of Ghana's Smart School project to transform education across the nation and enhance the educational experience for all senior high school and technical and vocational education and training TVET schools. The implementation of this project has been made possible through extensive stakeholder engagement and collaboration between the private sector, the public sector, academia, Ghana TVET service, the Ghana Education Service, etc. Seeing the excitement and enthusiasm of the students and teachers, the Opokuwari was a highlight of his day, said the Minister for Education. This is just the beginning of transformative journey for a brighter future for education in Ghana. So ahead of the official ceremony to distribute a tablet to students of Opokuwari School under the Smart School project by His Excellency the Vice President, in a fortnight, the minister paid an unannounced visit to the school on Sunday, 2nd June 2024. Smart classrooms all over the place. And this is from the Director General Ghana Education Service, Dr. Eric Nkansa writes, congratulations to Master Amokodia Leonard Kofi Mathan from St. James Seminary Senior High School for placing the first in the 2023 West African Secondary School exam, that's WASI, for the school candidate both in Ghana and the best candidate out of 2,327,342 candidates from the 5 member countries. And a free senior high school. Yeah, first and years old. St. James Seminary Senior High School. Father Hubert, wherever you are, good morning to you. Great leadership, producing great candidates, topping West Africa for Ghana. You're a blessed man. Father Hubert, you're a blessed man. So congratulations also to Master Jandu Selom from Laboni Senior High School, who emerged as the first runner-up, and Master Daniel Sensu Jembibi from St. James Seminary, who was the second runner-up. The following were named program awards winners: the General Art Law Dina Educhumwa from St. Monica Senior High School. You can't bear the name Educhumwa na Finyazi onye yeda, because Dr. Yao said Educhumwa ben papa. Then for business, Kwesi Asare J. Fodjo from St. Augustine College, Cape Coast. 3, that's the technical. Akusuya Ej Boating from Joaso Senior High School, Senior High Technical School, that's in Ashanti region. Hey, Bisia no ya na. Wonderful. The exciting news is that in March this year, at the WAEC International Excellence Award in Freetown, Sierra Leone, Leonard, Selom, and Daniel made the entire country proud by annexing the top 3 prizes at the best 3 out of the 2,327,342 students from the 5 member countries who sat for the WASI 2023. So on Thursday, 13 June 2024, was such an exciting and humbling moment for the Director General Ghana Education Service, Dr. Eric Nkansa, when he chaired the ceremony in Accra to celebrate this outstanding student during the WAEC Distinction Award for 2023 school candidates. He said, I commend our hardworking teachers and non-teaching staff for their dedication to training and nurturing these students. Your dedication and commitment to your work has yielded this excellent result. Ayiko. And that's from the desk of Director General Ghana Education Service, Dr. Eric Nkansa. Want to say thank you for following us during this discussion. This series on inclusive education. We had Nana Champon coming through, Mrs. Gifty Nana Roxen, also coming through Dr. Cyril Mauli. Onumensa also came, who is at the Center for Hearing and Speech Services. Mr. Alexander Bankole Williams, Mr. Juventus Dorina. And today we have Dr. Daniel Fobi, who is here with us, but he made all these guests possible. He passed them through to us. And I have Mr. Francis K. Anku. I'll let them tell us their story, how they managed to get to Accra. For the love of the country. They love the minister so much, they said, we'll come. For the sake of the minister, we'll come. For the sake of Ghanaians, we'll be here. And they are indeed here. We were going to the central region. We got to a point, in fact, the rain actually nearly swallowed us up. And they managed to pass through the risk to be here because of you and I. All right, so good morning to you and welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning.
It's a blessing.
Yes.
Yes, indeed.
You know, sometimes we travel, let's say, go to the northern region. We take flight sometimes and we'll go and come back. And we go and record a documentary. We spend about 4 hours. Yeah, if you have been to the north, the towns are spaced. So you have to drive about 3 hours before you get to the next town. A day we are able to do about 2 schools. So we go all this day. We come and then at the end of the day, we are showing only 30 minutes of everything we put together. So when people see some of you in studio on Saturday mornings as Waba, they don't know how you got here. How did you manage to get to Accra?
Interesting. We set off in Winneba around 5 p.m. And we got to Accra around 10 p.m.
That's right, 4 hours.
And the 4 hours was between Akoti Junction.
That's right.
And say Malam Junction. In fact, we were stuck in traffic between post toll booth. The entire road was flooded, and so we spent about 2-3 hours in traffic just at that point.
Wow!
And so we are here.
But we thank God that you came. I mean, going through the weekend, teaching and all these things that you do, and you still make time on Saturday morning. In fact, it's a blessing having you here this morning. We are so grateful having you here. So I have here Mr. Francis K. Anku and then Dr. Daniel Fobi. And we are going to be discussing learning disabilities. All right, so I'll begin with Mr. Francis Anku. When we say learning disability, what are we talking about?
Okay. Thank you. And then good morning to our listeners.
Yes.
Okay. So learning disabilities are neurological differences that affect how individuals learn.
So when you say neurological, what are you referring to?
Information. So I'm referring to the fact that the brain is structured in different way. It is about how the individual's brain is structured.
So it has to do with the brain.
Yes,
okay.
It's how it functions. So it affects how they process information.
Okay.
So in terms of, let's say, processing speed, memory, how the individual is able to learn language, that is what is affected. So the learning disabilities, they are not really due to environmental or educational factors.
Okay.
But what we are saying is that it is how the brain is structured and how it functions. So it is not the result of the fact that the student is lazy or the student is not putting any effort or the student is having low intelligence. In fact, people with learning disabilities may have above average intelligence. Just that the brain is structured in such a way that it affects the way they learn certain subjects.
Wow.
So
so we are also we have different structures.
Yes.
So somebody is good at mathematics, somebody is good at English.
So I would say is the way the individual's brain is wired.
So our brains are wired differently, right?
Differently. So I'm talking about the brain structure and how it functions. That is what affects how the individual processes information.
So can we say that everyone has the brain structured differently, and so
Yes.
some people's brain are made for math and English. Can we say that?
Sure. We can
Oh, I
say
see.
that.
So the student that is good in mathematics is not better than that of, because it's just that the brain is structured to be able to understand math, right?
Sure.
Wow. Now, what about when you force the child? The child doesn't understand the subject, and you are forcing the child to do that. Does the brain now align to that?
No, you are not supposed to force the child.
Wow.
So in this case, when you realize that parents and teachers are supposed to monitor the progress of their learners, especially when it comes to literacy skills, reading, writing, mathematics. So when you realize that the learner or your child or the student is finding it difficult to learn some of these subjects, then you have to consult with specialists or for assessment to be conducted. So that when you know what the actual problem is, then you can now design individualized instruction to support the child. So they can be supported to learn. They are not supposed to be forced. Just that they would have to learn differently. So a terminology is even emerging. Now some people want to call it learning differences. They don't want to say learning disability. So that if I can learn this way, if you are using this method or strategy which is not working for me, then the teacher would have to look for other strategies that can help the learner to learn.
Wow. Okay. So
So,
let me.
we can even look at multisensory instruction. So using approaches that at least will engage all the senses of the
Oh,
child.
okay. Okay. All right. So my brain is structured. Maybe my brain is structured to be able to understand math, for example.
Yeah.
But there's a way to help me to also do well in English, right?
Sure.
So is this something that, do you think that every teacher needs to get this knowledge before they stand in front of
It's
people to teach
very
them?
important because number one, the students that we teach are coming from different backgrounds in the first place. We are diverse as a result of nature and then nurture, our biological makeup, and then the environmental factors that influence our development. A child in a city and a child in the village, they have different exposures. So if you are teaching, you have to consider individual differences. That is why in the inclusive education policy of Ghana, there is a strategic framework that is supposed to guide teachers in teaching their learners, meaning that they have to consider these individual differences and give all their learners equal opportunity to succeed in the classroom through accommodations and then modifications. These are instructional adaptations that every teacher is supposed to. So it's at the University of Education Winneba. Special education is a general mandatory program or course for all our prospective teachers. So we teach them this. So every teacher is supposed to. That is what will make you professional and competent in the classroom. So that you don't treat all your learners the same way as if they are all the same. You must always consider different strategies that you use. Because in the classroom, some are visual learners, some are auditory learners, tactile learners. They may want to see, some would want to listen and express themselves, some also would want to manipulate the learning materials. So you must give all of them that equal opportunity to learn. So it's very important for all the teachers to understand some of these learning differences so that they can support all their learners. So it is not, if the child is performing low in mathematics, doesn't mean he's below average or he's lazy or cannot learn. Maybe you have not explored other avenues that can support that learner to also succeed.
You have not explored other strategies that you could use to
help the child.
You are a lecturer at the University of Education, Winneba, right?
Yes.
So these are the things you teach teachers who come out to teach.
Yes.
Let me ask you a question before I come to Dr. Phoebe. This is a question that I think the licentiate exams that you write, do you think it's important to write that exam?
It's important.
Why?
It's important. The teacher is supposed to be licensed. So it's a professional.
So, but how come they go for teacher training? They pass a right before they write exam to be given license to teach. Is that how it is?
Yes. So after the training, you should write the licensure exams.
After the training, you are qualified.
Yes.
But to be given license to teach, you need to write exam.
You need to write the exams.
The exam that they write, does it connect to some of the things you teach them, or is different?
I think it's quite different in the sense that with the licensure exams, the focus is on the literacy skills,
Mm.
reading, mathematics, numeracy, and then I think general knowledge. So it's quite different from the special education that we are talking about.
Oh,
we
okay.
are discussing here.
Thank you very much. I mean, we went to a place and we saw a teacher teach English language. So I asked the headmaster, why is he teaching English language? Because I'm a mense brofo, but I think it's a kakra. But I'm not can say. And then we say, brofo no, brofo no say. In fact, me catch a teacher and then brofo one fan throw BC. It throw a buffet. Brofo yenya but then brofo no say. So I'm asking because I've also heard people say that. So I'm asking this question, very important question, because you have teachers that are being trained to stand in front of children to teach.
Okay.
They need a lot of knowledge, not the teaching, but then the tool, which is the knowledge they need to do the teaching.
The skill,
So if they lack that one, then of course the children are going to suffer. So I'm beginning to think that something that Mr. Solomon Atita has been saying repeatedly, that if the student fails, the teacher that has failed. He keeps saying that because, like he's talking about different methodologies, ways that you can teach the same thing that a child will understand. That's why you have a lecturer who enters the lecture hall. Students are happy. Another one comes and we don't understand what he's saying, but he seems to be lecturing, but nobody gets, because he hasn't been able to identify which structure or which strategy to use to make sure that the message that he's sending across is all right. So thank you very much. We'll come to Dr. Phoebe. Do we have types and types of learning disability?
Yes, we do. And as my colleague has rightly intimated, indeed, when we look at learning disability, one special thing about it is that the individual is able to do so many things, but something. And so you see, this individual we are talking about may be very good in music, or probably dances very well, or probably does English or literacy very well, but mathematics. And so the problem is in mathematical skills, and that is a type of learning disability, and we will call that dyscalculia.
Okay.
Which means that the person is unable to compute mathematical operations. We have those who have language-based disability, which is generally referred to as dyslexia. And so, as Francis has said, it is based in the brain. And so they have issues with that part of the brain responsible for helping the acquisition and processing of language. And so this translates into reading. And so that child who has dyslexia will have issues with reading. And as you know, if you have issues with reading and it's about processing issue, then it means you are likely to have issues with writing. What you can't receive, you cannot produce. And so those who have dyslexia tend out to have writing problem. It's different from dysgraphia, which I'll get there. So those who have dyslexia, because they don't read well, they don't understand well, when they write for you, you hardly find meaning of what they have written. And so that is a writing problem as well. Then we have writing as in graphical representation of things, handwriting as we put it in the Ghanaian perspective, for our viewers to and listeners to understand. And so that is those with dysgraphia. So when they are writing, the ideas are there all right, their grammar is perfect, but the way they will put it, and I'm sorry to my colleagues in the medical profession, but maybe most medical doctors write like that. When they write, you won't see anything. That is a typical case of dysgraphia. When you look at the thing, you may not be able to really appreciate what they have written, except for you being in the field and so on. And so that is the issue of most children in the classroom. And as Francis was saying, and you were trying to understand, these things happen in the classrooms, and teachers wrongly label children. As for this individual, no matter the effort we put in, he's not doing well, he's not good enough. I have walked into a school that my son ever attended, and as early in the morning when I was going, I could hear a teacher discussing a parent, and the teacher was like, we are doing you a favor, sort of. Hey, as a teacher talking like this. And so these are the unfortunate situation. This is the understanding a teacher has on a young child of about 2-3 years old who is in the formative years and developing, and you think that that child, there's nothing good that will come out of that. So that is the side. And for most of us, we have been wrongly labeled. And I was discussing with Francis just before we came in that personally I feel I have some form of learning disability, especially when you give me reading aloud exercise. I will struggle, especially in public. But I have my PhD, I've come far. And so it does not mean that intellectually I'm not good, but I have issues with specific things. And as soon as I mentioned that to him, he said, yeah, he also thinks that he has issues with mathematics. And I was even telling him, but you are a quantitativist and you compute with numbers. And I said, because that one is computer programming and so on. So these are some of the realities. So we have people who have come far, many academics, medical professional, lawyers, and so on, who have specific learning disabilities.
So you don't have to say that no be a doctor no on tibrofi.
It's not about that.
But let me ask you, Doc, before you continue.
Yeah.
Don't you think psychologically, if a child, say we go to school, we begin, maybe you get to class 1 and we have something called mentor. I don't know whether they still do it. Where you get to the class, we ask you 1 + 1 and you are not able to say they cane you. Don't you think that puts fear in the child? And whenever the math teacher enters the class, the child is afraid. And so it grows up with that fear of mathematics. Can that also be the reason why people...
in my early years of my education, I think up to class 4, there was a lady who was around that time older than almost everyone, who we all knew were born, who could not read anything, and teachers knew it. As colleagues, we also knew it. And then at a point in time, our teacher used group method of teaching, where some of our colleagues were teaching. So we put you into group, you learn a certain passage. And lo and behold, one of our colleagues, Costa Frempong, who is now a teacher in Bekwai Secondary School or so, was able to teach that colleague to read. And so that comes back to your question. It means that the approach, as Francis had mentioned, is very important. Our mere presence as teachers sometimes creates a whole lot of fear and panic in the student. And if that child is not comfortable with you as a teacher, no learning will take place. And so that is to all teachers out there. Just yesterday, my master student colleagues, these were the things we were discussing in class. That the policy of not caning has been misconstrued. And teachers think that it means, oh, we shouldn't intervene when children are going wrong because the GES is saying we shouldn't cane them. I said, no, it is not about the caning. But you all know that even at the master's level, if a particular lecturer has a particular appearance, even at your age, when you see them, you begin to shiver and you don't produce your best. And so this meant that 2 times 2, 3 times 4, as we move on in this our discussion, you realize that one of the processes to use to help those with learning disability is to teach them slowly. And somebody that you are teaching slowly to acquire a skill, 2 times 2, you expect to get a response as soon as your times 2 ends. It is not going to work. And so that is causing a lot of harm. It has caused a lot of harm. And I think that we all need to know that. But one thing that I need to say in concluding is that we often talk about teachers and leave parents out. Parents are equally guilty at this. We shout out at our children. Recently, there was a research about shaming children. These jokes that we all play with our children. Oh, shame, shame, shame. Oh, nobody will talk to you. You don't have a friend in the class, in the home today because you have done ABC. Research has told us that the impact that it has on the children, even in the home, is massive. And so 2 times 2 mentor, yeah, we know of the teachers, we want them to change. But parents equally have to change because they spend most of the time with their children in the home. And if children are not confident in the home, they will not be confident in the school. And that is what I do with children that I come. Try to build their confidence, empower them so that they will be able to confidently articulate the things they know.
All right, thank you very much. So you are listening to the Transformation Agenda Station on Education. I'm here with Dr. Daniel Fobi and Mr. Francis K. Anku. They are all lecturers at the Special Education Department at the University of Education, Winneba. And we are discussing learning disabilities. Be reminded that this program is proudly sponsored by the Ministry of Education. God bless you so much. Let me go back to Mr. Anku. What are the common causes and misconceptions about learning disabilities, and how do we dispel these?
Okay, thank you. So there are no how do you call it known causes specifically of learning disabilities, but it is believed to be linked to, as I said earlier, to how the differences in brain structure and how it functions. And then these are influenced by a combination of genetic and then environmental factors. So we can look at hereditary factors. Learning disability can run in some families. It's just like how some families, if you look, they are good at music. The father, yes, the father is a musician, like Jackie, and then the father, Nana Champon. When it comes to football, you see there are some families, you see it, so it can be hereditary. And sometimes too, they also attribute this to some risk factors such as exposure to environmental toxins like lead, mercury, and all that. That is associated to. So
we are having a galamsey could affect.
It believes that the belief is that can affect the development of
the brain. Okay.
Because it's a neurodevelopmental disability, meaning that it occurs during the developmental period when the brain is still growing and then developing. So the brain develops from age 0 up to 18, and during this period, these factors can influence.
Okay, so let me ask you: if these factors can influence the brain development, the structure, then sometimes I ask this question. There's a small boy, I've forgotten his name, who and then another small girl who are very good with science. I mean, they are able to tell us about science and tell us all these things. And then recently we've been seeing a guy who is very good at math, I think 2 years old or so. Is that something that they do, create environment that they create in the development of these fetuses, so that they grow up and their brain is towards this angle, or it's just natural? Because sometimes it's just amazing.
So we would say it's just natural. It's a bio neurological, how do you call it, disability or disorder. So it's how the brain develops. So many things can influence it. Yeah.
So it's normal for those children to behave like that.
Yes, it's quite normal.
Do we have a lot of children like that, or there are just few of them?
Oh, for children who are exceptional, there are always few. Exceptionality comes with
okay.
So those who might have deviated from the norm negatively or positively.
I'm thinking of these days of AI and all this, and maybe they can inject some fluid into the mother, and then the brain will start behaving in some way.
A normal bell curve. Some have deviated from the norm positively, some have deviated from the norm negatively. And they are the children with exceptionalities. So in special education, our main focus is on those children.
Oh, okay.
So we look at the children who are talented, creative, and then gifted. They have deviated substantially from the norm positively. And then we have children who are having disabilities, street children, orphan children, children from war zones, children who cannot learn for no reason. We classify them under special education.
Okay.
And give them the support.
Okay.
And then for the misconceptions, because the child cannot read in class, for instance, like Dr. Phobia said, let's say dyslexia, this child is finding it difficult to decode words or to make meaning out of text, because reading is a cognitive process where you have to decode a word and then derive meaning out of it. And this child is finding it difficult because maybe his brain is wired differently. So a teacher might think that this child was born. It's like he's below average in terms of intelligence, or he's just lazy and doesn't want to read. How come you are all in the same grade level? You are all of the same age. Because you can read this text and you cannot read this text. The same teacher has taught you, and then you cannot read, but this person can read. And the teacher is not thinking about other areas that he thinks this child might have his strengths and then abilities to leverage that. So sometimes we think that the learning disability is just as a result of poor intelligence, but that is not it. The individual can still, we have to recognize the abilities and then the strength of that child and leverage that. So we can dispel them by what we are doing right now, public education, create more awareness, and then support them. and accept them that and then help them to learn.
So excuse me. So it looks as if so if I'm in a class and I have children whose brains are structured maybe for mathematics, and I need to focus on helping them develop that angle, that side of their lives.
Yeah.
Just as I also try to help them with support them to also be able to do well in English. Is that so?
Yeah.
Okay. So the children that are all around, what about those ones?
And so they are exceptional. That is why I mentioned gifted children.
Okay.
Gifted children are very good at academic subjects. So
Okay.
you bring math, he's there. You bring science, he's there. Then we have talented children who are also very good at practical subjects, like football, like music. That is why we have renowned footballers, we have musicians, and some people too are creative, which is the highest expression of giftedness. So they are all around. So that's why we are saying they have deviated substantially from the norm positively. And their performance is outstanding. So they also need special education. You have to support them. There are programs for them. Sometimes they skip grades. We've had a student is 12 years and is already in senior high school or already in university, which is exceptional. It's not common to come across students like that. So we're rather supposed to support them. Because when he's in that class and you're not able to meet his needs, then he's going to create problem for other learners. And sometimes teachers think that they are competing with them, challenging them in class, because the child is not fitting in. The class where he is, his performance is above those peers. So you may have to skip him. Some are put on different programs just to engage them. You can actually use them in your class as a teacher. You don't have to. That's the way you form the groups, and then they will be teaching. You don't have to say he's too no, he's behaving like he knows. So some teachers feel intimidated. But when you do that, then you are not being professional. You are supposed to rather make good use of that learner. If anything, contact the parents. If there could be anything they can do. Sometimes you have to get the mentors, people to look up to. Because if you are not able to meet their needs, they'll start dodging class. Because they think like, if I don't even come to class to learn, I'll still pass their exams.
Oh, okay.
So you have to find ways and means to use them. That is it.
Well, thank you very much. That's Mr. Anku. Dr. Phoebe, you mentioned parents and teachers. So let me ask you this question. So how can parents and teachers identify these early signs? And then, and then what steps are they to take if they suspect a child has a learning disability?
Thank you. I think that parenting and teaching is a complex thing that the earlier we paid attention to it, the better. And so as a parent, you have to be very observant of your child. Like we have discussed for those with disabilities, different forms of disability. If you give basic instructions to your child and the child is unable to process it, so for instance, go to the kitchen and get me salt, and this child hears well, unlike those who could not hear. This child hears well, sees well, and everything is working well, but he goes and is unable to bring the salt. It should tell you that there is something missing in that child. If at the age of your child, say 5 years, 6 years, where every child is able to utter some basic words and communicate with their family, that your child is not picking language well and is unable to clearly articulate some basic words in language, you should be signaled that something is not right with your child. And as Francis had said, as a parent, as soon as you suspect something, the first thing is to seek for intervention. Talk to the relevant people and ensure that you get support and help them. Because we have learned that a day or a second delay in intervention has a month or a year or years implication, negative implication on children's learning. And so as parents, when you give these basic instructions in the home and children are unable to follow, that should give you an indication that something is not right. Then to the teacher, we shouldn't just jump into conclusion. You see, some teachers have made those who ideally wouldn't have made it possible. And so it means that as a teacher, you are the parent of the child in the school. You have to be very observant of your children. If that child is consistently not performing well as compared to his colleagues of the same age, then it should give you an indication that something is not right with that child. And when that indication is given, then you have to subject it to further diagnosis and assessment. And that may bring out something that will be helpful to you as a teacher. And so that is how it works as parents and also for teachers. But to me, the most important thing is that there should be clear collaboration between parents and teachers. And for that, I don't know who is getting it wrong, because parents see teachers differently and teachers also see parents differently. And I have always battled with that kind of thing, because I sit here as a teacher and also as a parent. And if I cannot coexist with myself, then it's a problem. And so I always tell the teachers we train that, hey, don't go and look at parents as people coming from space, because you are also parents. And so working together, because sometimes when you pick this information, you can talk to the parent of the child. This is what I have observed, that he's doing so well in so many other, but it comes to writing and some other stuff. Recently, my approach may not be the best, but I was just trying to put in some corrective measures in place for my elder son, because I observe he's good, but you have to tell him everything, and sometimes, and so one day I deliberately let him go to school. So the teacher also observed it, spoke to my wife about it, and said, why didn't he come? He said his father said he will not allow him to come to school because he's not performing. He said, oh, but in class it's different. He does very well. He does this. And so that's the kind of collaboration I'm talking about. So the teacher is giving me a feedback that I don't know about my son. And so we have discussions about this, and ultimately the goal is to help that individual. And so there are signs that you could pick even from the colleagues of the student. And you see, we shouldn't also jump into early conclusion, because there is possibly maybe our presence, the way we have defined ourselves, it scares the children. So when we are around, they may not do certain tasks well. And so as a parent, when you observe something, sometimes talk to the siblings and see. You see, Kojo, whenever I ask him to go and do this, he will always not bring it. Have you also observed that? They may tell you something different. No, when you are not around, he does it well, he does this. Then you, the parent, may be the problem. And you have to re-strategize. As teachers, sometimes you can talk to the best friend, the one who sits close to him. Because some children, if you ask those who are teachers, sometimes they know the answer. But unless you beat them, they will never tell you. Wow. They will never, they will tell the one seated next to them, and that person will always be answering. You think that's the brilliant, but the most brilliant is the one who never answers anything.
Is it that they lack confidence or something? That
is one of the reasons. The other reasons could be that you, the teacher, is sometimes they are not happy from home. Sometimes they have not eaten all day. Sometimes, and it's like the early slave days when we were told that the slaves got to know that their masters were not learning, and they were punished for that. And so then I would rather learn and tell my master. But in the end, it was the masters who were praised because we thought they were brilliant. But it was the slave who was actually learning, and so these things are still existing.
Yeah, you have some offices where the boss himself doesn't know anything, just the subordinates who are working.
Exactly, they'll just sign.
Yeah, that's true.
They don't know the content,
and they take the glory
behind the scenes. Just like this. People don't know how we have got into this studio.
Yeah,
and so those things are relevant, especially if you are looking at the holistic development of children, because children with LD have long been labeled, and this is not just a Ghanaian problem. When you look into the literature, it exists even in developed countries, and people still label them in those contexts. And so it is something that you have to take your time to observe. And one interesting thing about this whole thing is that as a parent, you know your child cannot read well, but you can capitalize on his mathematical skills to develop the reading skill.
Great. And it's beautiful. I'm not cutting you, Doc. When you go to our schools today, if you take a science book or you take the English books, most of the stories that are in the English book are science based. So science. So you are reading English, but you are studying science.
Yes.
And I think that's beautiful.
Yes, I think 3 days ago I picked my son from school and I asked him what they did. So today there was no major activity, but he was reading a book. And I said, "What did you read about?" He said he read that human beings evolved from apes. And I said, where did you get the book from? And I said, unfortunately, I got him that book. I said, give me back the book. Don't read it again. We never evolved from it. So it triggered a conversation between me and him. And so though he was reading, developing his reading skills, he's learning science and evolution. These are things we did in science. And if he ends up being a science student, obviously he's going to learn about that. But I took time to explain to him that these are schools of thought. And then I, as a Christian, I chip in my Christian value. I said, so what have you learned from church? Do you believe that we evolved from apes? He said, no. God created us. And I said, I want you to believe that thing. Because that is what I believe. And I also think that is the right thing. Nothing came from nothing. That's right. And that's, have you ever seen a human being evolving from an ape as a child? He says, no. I said, so these are the important things that we all have to do. If we lose God,
of course,
we would get our children labeled. And quickly to add to what my colleague has said. So in JSS 1, we used to do well in class. We were not doing so. Maybe we are not top. But at least we were managing the class until somebody came into the scene. This guy will not always come to school. But when it comes to write exams, the first term he was there, he was second. Second term, he was first. Then he said, they are born with school now.
Wow.
Because there's somebody who will not learn. But this same guy, when I got to secondary school, I met him at WAEC in Kumasi. Why are you there? He said, he came to writing of deck. I said, you Godfred, writing of deck? Apparently, the gifted child was not managed well. And so he has ended up as a gifted underachiever. And so we have many of such people. Then your initial question of, does the environment have any form of influence? Yes, to some extent. But it's not as those who are naturally gifted.
Okay.
They are top notch. And so in terms of football, though I like Ronaldo, but Messi is gifted.
Okay.
And so if Messi was doing the things Ronaldo is doing, no footballer in the world will ever get close to him. So you see the difference. So you see that Ronaldo environment is nurturing him. He's always training. He's always up. Messi is playing games. He's sleeping. He's not going to training. Ronaldinho is in the club. The following day, he is scoring hat-trick. Ronaldo will not go to club and score. He will be training. And so that is the main difference. So people will train and will still get there. But it will not be as if those who are naturally gifted.
It will not be as those who are naturally gifted. So we are here with Dr. Daniel Fobi, who is the Special Education Department, University of Education, Winneba, same as Mr. Francis K. Yanku. And we are discussing learning disabilities. We have some messages here I want to read and then activate the phone lines for you to call and ask them questions or contributions. If you have a child and you are now getting understanding of some of the situations or conditions that you find your child in, you're a teacher, whatever, you want to ask. These are lecturers at the school and they know their book, so they will be able to help you understand whatever questions that you want to ask. Now, so this is from Edward Ofori. Hey, Edward Ofori. He said, keep up the good works, keep up the good work team. And then so University of Education, Winneba lecturers, Dr. Fobi and Mr. Francis Anku said, keep up the good works. And then I have Daniel Naado. A very big thanks to my boss, Dr. Fobi, for this educative program. He said, God bless you, Doc. And then Emmanuel Amon said, keep making an impact, Dr. Fobi. And then this is Nana Achampo. He said, bravo team. He said, thank you. That's Kwesi Ghana, Kwesi GH. He said, thank you for the good work you are doing for our mother, Ghana. So these are the messages that we have. Keep your messages coming. We have few minutes to leave the studio. So we are giving you the opportunity to call and ask your questions. 0302 20 80 80, 0302 20 80 80. Call us and ask whatever question. If you have a child who has a certain condition or whatever you don't understand, you have the lecturers here who are training teachers, and they will be able to help you understand so that you are able to help your child. If you're a teacher, you have identified some kind of character or whatever with your students and you don't know how to handle it, this is the platform for you to call, ask your question, and I believe that they'll be able to help you. So my next question is, what are some of the effective strategies and accommodations that can help individuals with learning disability succeed in the classroom and beyond? Mr. Anku.
All right, thank you. Because we are saying the learn differently or in different ways. We can look at multi-sensory instruction.
Okay.
Where it's an approach where you engage all the senses of the child in learning. So we have the sense of sight, sound, we have taste, smell. So for instance, with the sense of sight, you can use graphical representations, pictures, videos, diagrams. You can use it when you are teaching audiovisual materials. And then when it comes to sound, music, you can also give oral instructions and then help them, because some of them have visual processing disorder. There's nothing wrong with the eyes. The child can see all right, but how the brain interprets visual information is different.
Wow.
So you would have to, if you've watched this movie before, like Stars on Earth, the child is complaining. When you give the book to him, he tells you the words are flying. That's how he sees it.
Wow.
The eyes are okay.
Like someone, the blind man that Jesus, he said, I see men as trees.
So that is what the child sees. So teachers are supposed to be patient. And then we also have the auditory processing disorder. He hears what he hears is, or how he interprets auditory information is different. So you give instruction and then the child is doing something different. They find it difficult to discriminate between similar sounds. So we have to use diverse strategies like the multisensory instruction to engage them. And then in our own IE policy, inclusive education policy.
All right, thank you very much. There's a caller on the line. Let's pick this call. Hi, good morning.
Yeah, good morning. My name is Azuri.
Azuri, kindly lower the volume on the radio set for me. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, thank you very much. You are calling us from where?
Yeah, I'm calling from Kubikrum.
Kubekrom, thank you very much. Talk to us, sir.
Yes, I like to call you, commend you for the good work you are doing for Mother Ghana. And what the lecturer is saying, I think I have a similar situation where I have that collaboration with a teacher, where I have a daughter aged 3 years. There was something I think I was not getting it clear, but the teacher equally identified and told me about, which I'm working on it. And so I think what he's doing is actually true. So
Can you share with us what
doing the good work?
Yeah, can you share with us what the teacher identified?
My daughter will, at home, I don't see it well, but at school, the teacher was describing her behavior. Sometimes when she stands, she will not stand straight, as if she put the load pressure on her back. And so sometimes she will say, my weight, and you're like, what is wrong with the weight? At your age, why do you complain weight? And then one day I was at school, I took her to the school in the morning. The teacher, in front of me, she was standing, the teacher asked her to stand straight, and she was just bending backwards. And the teacher was like, I didn't know this. I said, well, I saw it one day, but I didn't gloss over it. And so he said, look, this is not once. I've seen this several times. So you have to either take her to the clinic or the hospital for you to check.
All right.
I said, well, it's true. I need to do so.
All right. So you're talking about collaboration between parents and teachers. Thank you very much, Mr. Azuri. God bless you. There's a question I want to ask. Maybe both of you can help us understand. We are in the era of technology. We have WhatsApp, where teachers can, send parents messages, because parents are busy. Even though we say make time for your children, or that there are times that they can't. Is it not possible to, maybe if you're a teacher, you see something about a child, you can send a message to the parents, because most of the teachers complain that when you invite a parent, they don't come. It's not that they don't come, they don't have the time. And you can say that, you should make time. But you see, we have to look at a lot of factors that can make a parent come or not come. Can't we have a system where some of these informations are related, or where the teacher goes to the home of the parent? Can we do something like that? That is, if you're a teacher, you're concerned about the welfare of the child, then of course that's your responsibility. Like a doctor who receives a patient and he has to do everything to save the life of the patient. A teacher who has a student and he has situations and you're calling the parent, they are not. Is there nothing you can do to make sure that you see the parent to make sure that thing is corrected?
Okay. So it's very important. The kind of students we are discussing, they have complex needs. So definitely it should be a teamwork. Parents and teachers would have to collaborate to support the child, because some of the accommodations would have to even do with providing out-of-school reading services or extra tuition to the child. So if the parents do not understand the condition of the child, it will be difficult for them to support the teachers to help the learners. And technology has come to stay. And talking about some of these instructional strategies, we have to use assistive technology.
Okay.
And so technology is there for us to use. And even for reading, parents, if they have the wherewithal, they can provide the learner. We have reading pen. It's a device that you can just put on a book, and then the child will connect it to the earpiece, and then it will scan the word and read. Can even tell the meaning of the word. So this one, a child can even learn on his own independently how to read if he's having challenges.
Is it expensive?
It's not too expensive.
How much do you have idea how much it costs?
The last time I saw one, it's in dollars. Like,
so you can understand. You can understand.
Yeah,
but I think some of this, one thing I've found out since we started this inclusive education discussion has to do with it seems to be a little bit, let me put it in quotes, that you need to spend much to be able to take care of it. And so I'll ask you, our time is almost up. Maybe we have to come back and continue this conversation, and then we can end. We wanted to end this, but I believe that we need to go into maybe one more time so that we can complete it. But is government not supporting with some of this, so that, for example, when you import these items, you don't pay taxes on them or something, because these are nothing, it's not for profit, it's to enhance the learning abilities of children and help them. Don't you have something like that? And don't you also have situations where some of these things are provided for you for free or on a price that is reduced that the ordinary person? Because if a poor person has problems, challenges, disabilities, that means their children are going to remain like that for... That's what Mr. Bankole Williams, he said here that, but for the free SHS, most parents whose children had disabilities would have left them, because they wouldn't spend money to send that child to school for what? Because they don't even understand why they should send us to school. Don't we have something like that?
I think, and to jump into your initial question, I think if the parents will not visit the school, send them a message. If they will not respond to a message, give them a call. If they will not pick, so there are different means of communicating. Where my case are, there's a WhatsApp platform. Aside from giving assignment on the board, they take picture of the assignment from the board.
It's beautiful.
For us to see on the board. And sometimes we interact on the WhatsApp. We are not clear with this question. Can you help me? And then the teacher will also come. And that is highly important as parents. So I think there should be different, like he has a multiple means of representation and communication. Then back to this issue. My initial and my understanding as it is, I may be wrong, but I think they said there's a policy that even when you are importing transport and they get to know this is going to school, the kind of dues you have to pay at the port is at a reduced rate because it's going to support school, computers is going to support education, those kind of, I think is there. So in that sense, if it is not there, then I'm wrong. But that's what I have heard. Then in terms of what government is doing, you just mentioned in your introduction that government is giving out one student, one tablet. Some schools have been giving laptops and so on. Though they may not be enough, that may be somebody's argument. Other people are arguing that that's a misplaced priority. You know, who argues like that? That didn't understand 21st century education. My children, especially the younger one who just turns 6, when he picks my phone, he knows how to go to Google and look for a word. And now what I observe him doing is that when he go to Google to look for a word, he play the sound to listen to the pronunciation, to know how to sound out the word. And these are things they do themselves. My elder one, who is about 9 years now, he is even doing marvelous with the phone. Any new word, he will just try and break it down, spell it, go. And so in terms of technology, it is transforming education. And then, is it expensive? Yes. Some poor parents cannot. Some places we still do not have electricity and so on. But at least when we start from somewhere, we will get somewhere.
Okay.
And I think because of your time, I want to plead with you and use some 30 seconds to do this. I think this whole program, first, I'll start from the minister, has been massive. The listenership is wide. The transformation in terms of what has been done in terms of inclusive education and this discussion, the feedback we get from our students and colleagues, massive. The minister has really done well, putting resources in terms of money to get us this far, giving people the opportunity to speak their mind. I think it's massive. Then back to you as the host. I think that you have also done marvelously well to conceive this kind of idea and give us the space. For about 3 months now, we are talking about special needs. And you won't understand the impact it's making. Listen to what the caller just mentioned. People are listening. Some of them may never call to tell you how they feel. And I think that is massive. We give it out to our students to... Last week, I asked my students to listen, and it was part of my discussion in class. So that is the impact it's making. And through what means? Technology. So technology, anyone who runs that technology doesn't understand 21st century education.
All right, thank you very much. So finally, our time is up. Would you like to say something for just 10 seconds?
All right. So I'm happy to be here today. Thank you so much for hosting us. I would say that we should be patient with learners with learning disabilities, and then we should try to identify them. It all starts with assessment. You identify them, and then you develop individualized instruction to support them. At the University of Education Winneba, in my department, we have a center, a reading resource center, where we do informal reading assessment and interventions for learners who have reading difficulties. We think reading is very important because it cuts across all the subjects, and then it's tied to academic failure. If you can't read, it will affect other subject areas. So we have a reading resource center. People can always get in touch and then give them the relevant support.
All right, thank you very much. That's Mr. Francis Anku. And then, Doc.
Yeah, I think, as I have said before, we wrongly label children, and the time to desist and change from that is now, because that's your innocent child that you are wrongly labeling could lead into a school dropout. And so as parents, we should take our time. If something is beyond us, contact the teacher of your child. As a teacher, if something is beyond you, contact the parent of the child. And for me, this kind of synergy is needed to promote a good welfare and learning of children. Next
time I'm going to ask you a question. I want to put it across before we close. My question is, so the homework that teachers send to us, if a teacher is giving a homework to a child, is it a homework for the child to go and do themselves because they've taught them at school and that they are able to go and do, or they give them some words that we don't have meaning to? So that's my question. When we meet next time, you will tell us, maybe that is how you train them. They come and embarrass us. Adada, into where do we win? Into where can to me here? All right, so thank you very much for doing the listening. I've been here with Dr. Daniel Phoebe, Mr. Francis K. Anku. These are all lecturers from the University of Education Winneba, came through to talk to us about learning disability. God bless you so much for doing the listening. Tonight, 8 p.m., we are on GTV. And then next week, I'm going to tell you we are almost now on 9 channels. That includes UTV, Metro TV, Pan-African TV, TV Africa, Joy News, Joy Prime, Channel 1 TV, GTV, and we are on them twice a week, trying to put across the beautiful information and the stories that we have in the education space in this country. Thank you very much, Dr. Yao Sedish, wherever you are. That's a great man, making so much impact in this country. We'll see you again next week for another beautiful conversation. Take care of yourself and be good. Bye.